Later. Ladies and gentlemen, apparently I hit record approximately 10 seconds too early. Thank you very, very much, Venters. Much obliged and appreciate, as always, for the incredible timing. Show news! Alright, so since several people have asked, is the YouTube stuff over? The answer is no. Obviously not. Otherwise, we'd be streaming today. That would be kind of how I do that. Best guess is the absolute minimum it will take will be another week. Possibly a little longer than that. To give you guys a little bit of an idea of where I'm at right now, currently I need to finish rendering all the Friday ruminations. Then I need to finish recording all the half of the TNG stuff. Then I need to finish editing the TNG stuff. Then I need to render all of the TNG stuff. Then I need to upload all of the stuff and make sure they're all scheduled properly. And then I will be done. All of that is where I'm at right now. Now that probably sounds like a lot of work left. Trust me when I say I am well over the hump at this point. I'm guessing it'll take about another week. The problem is the rendering process basically requires the computer to not be doing anything else while it's happening. And that just takes up absolutely gargantuan chunks of time. In fact, fun fact, I wasn't even sure I was going to do the stream this morning because I'm technically still rendering. It's just paused in the background right now, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that my computer doesn't crash because it's pausing a render in the background. Thankfully, I do have a very good computer, but you get the problem. Yeah, I've been rendering since Friday, by the way. Yeah. Adobe Premiere, okay. But yes, I am rendering all of the DS9 stuff, which is done. Actually, all the DS9 stuff is rendered and edited. Most of the Friday Rumination stuff is edited, and a decent chunk of it is rendered. Again, that's what has to finish today while I'm working on some other things. And then I have to do a custom render for the final 4 Friday Rumination things. Then I need to go work on the TNG stuff. So that's where I'm at. I don't read usually nowadays, Mega. I do work. I have work. Okay, so that's where we're at with the show. So let's go ahead and move on to random news, because we do have a little bit of random news this week. You know, I've thought about that before, Blue Wolf Alex, but honestly, I actually kind of prefer this method. I mean, it burns the hell out of me, but it also means I don't have to think about it for a year, which is a huge, huge deal to me. So... okay, so some of you will care about this, because I know some of you actually, this affects you. There's no longer any VOD. So, you know how if you watch a VOD on Twitch, you can type in chat, and it'll basically add it into the chat? And then I will get a notification saying, hey, someone left this message on your video. Yeah, that's going away. That's going away. So, FYI, you can't do that anymore, I believe, after this month. Something like that. I don't know why they're getting rid of that. I'm guessing it's just something they don't care about. Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out on PC. Can I just say, freaking calling it? Sorry, that's me blending words. Freaking called it. I freaking called that. In fact, not only did I call that, I said it would come out roughly a year after the PS4 version. And hey! What do you know? It's coming out a year and 10 days after the PS4, or after the console version. Within 2 weeks of a year after. I'm hammering that point because quite a few people were like, nah. And I'm like, guys, this is whatever. Anyways, I am kind of in favor of that. So, we'll see. Honestly, Anthony, I would not have said so if not for how they treated GTA 5. That was really the big thing that was pushing that idea. Since RDR still isn't on PC. Still. I agree. More games on more platforms, absolutely. God dang it, Venters. Thank you, Venters. very, very much. Let me add that to the sub you just put in for that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm one of those extremely weird people who would be totally cool if Nintendo started releasing their stuff on PC. Like, I'd be down for that. Yeah, we're cool with that idea? We cool? Right. There's a Harley... So we've known there's a Harley Quinn movie coming for a while. There was a trailer that was released over the previous week for it. The movie's called Birds of Prey. The something Harley Quinn. It looks really boring based on the trailer. And I hate to say that because Harley Quinn was probably one of the only good things about Suicide Squad, and I don't know, it feels like they have no idea what they're doing with it. The general premise... Actually, I pulled the thing here, and I closed it because I'm a moron. I really am, aren't I? The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. There you go, that's the title. The whole point is apparently... she's going up against Black Mask, who's being played by Ewan McGregor? Okay, for those of you who don't understand why I'm making this face, Black Mask is like one of the just most disgustingly evil villains in the Batman mythos. Like, you think of evil and you think Joker. No. No, Black Mask is just gross. He is actually squick. To give you an example of a minor thing that he does once, there's this part where he's torturing someone by cutting up pieces of her husband and feeding him to her, bit by bit. That's a minor thing that he's done. Anyways, so yeah, yeah, so anyways, she's going up against Mr. Black Mask. She's going to be defending Cassandra Cain, and she's joining up with Canary, Huntress, and Montoya to do this. Now, in case you're not catching all of this, this is just a very weird set of characters for this. So Cassandra Cain, also known as one of the more recent Batwomen, Batgirls, whatever they call them. Also the one who was raised by, I can't remember his name, the horribly lethal assassin dude, whose name is also Cain. And she's, you know, it took quite a while to get her to the point where she could have regular human interactions because of how horrible of a upbringing she had. So she's teaming up to save her with Black Canary Huntress, Huntress, of all people? And Renee Montoya, the cop. To go up again, whatever. Anyways, it looks really boring. Moving on. I probably will skip out on that one. I have to admit, the idea of seeing Ewan McGregor play Disgusto Man is kind of amusing. Anyways, so... Now this is a fun one. How many of you... you've probably heard some form or another of this news. The Writers Guild of America recently decided to fully disqualify the video game writing category for their awards ceremony. That's not actually the news. That's actually more of a byproduct of the news. Because I'll freely admit I wasn't actually aware of this. The Writers Guild of America doesn't allow video game writers to be members of the guild. Now, they can pay their dues, but they don't actually get membership, and they don't have the ability to vote. This is the news part, and this is what made me go, wait, what? Now, it's probably worth noting the Writers Guild of America once voted Force Unleashed to have some of the best writing in video gaming. To get a little bit of perspective here. But... yeah, I don't know what else to add to that. This is why this is only a random news tidbit, not a major news tidbit. I like Force Unleashed too, but I hate the story. Like, actively hate. That's not an exaggeration. That's just a awful, awful story. How many of you know what the VGTR is, especially those of you over in Britain? Well, the people who don't write for video games can write for dues, and they could become members of the Writers Guild Ventures. Ow. Video game television runs. Yes! That's not, no. Darth Tyron has it. Video game tax relief. It's a... Oh, they don't, Venters. This is how we found out about this. They found out that they can pay dues, but they don't get any benefits for paying dues. So, what you're asking me, Magister, is can I picture an actual good author sitting amongst a bunch of elitist dicks? Yeah, I can picture it, yeah. Why would you pay dues? Well, they usually don't. Hence the point. It's like Diesel Edge over there. He doesn't pay his dues, and he's happy. Oh, wait, this actually goes here. Thank you very, very much, Diesel Edge, even though it's tomorrow. Much obliged, sir. Yes, basically, Kay. They can literally pay for nothing. They actually get nothing out of it. I'm not kidding. That really is how that works. I suppose that's not entirely fair. They can put on their resume that they are a member of the WGA. That's the benefit. God, what the hell kind of world do we live in where that's a normal thing? Where you can literally pay money for a label. Not pay money to show that you have quality, or not become part of a thing, or not be vested, or not be vetted. No, you just pay for a sticker you can put on your resume and say, I'm good. I'd make a joke about college here, but I'm getting too Halloween-y. Speaking of which, I suppose before we move on to this next news point, which I still haven't actually written, let's do this here really quick, because I haven't. I haven't decided if I'm doing a Halloween stream this month or not, or this year, I suppose, because the internet is getting worse and worse, basically. But that's just the simplest way to put it. I'm leaning towards going ahead and doing a Halloween stream, but immediately nuking the VOD. Just deleting it like minutes after I finish recording, or finish streaming. That's the most likely outcome. We'll see. Depends on exactly how it goes. Since we're in the era of, if I say something bad about carrots, someone could probably get upset about that, so whatever. That's the would it go up on YouTube? Nope. There would be no VOD at all. So. Still not sure. I will say, if I'm not streaming again by October, like, something's really, really wrong, because I really should not take longer than 2 weeks at the absolute outside for the YouTube cycle we're currently in. Just absolute outside. Speaking of which, you know what, hang on, while we're here, can I just say, I'm almost sad that none of you are like, wow, you're doing a really good job this year with the YouTube cycle. You guys probably don't remember this, but last year's YouTube cycle lasted about 2.5 months total. I was streaming in September this year. It just turned October, and I'm almost done. Nobody notices. Anyways, I'm sorry. Moving on. Alright, so let's actually move on to the tax thing at this point. Let's get a new timestamp, because we've moved forward by 4 minutes, looks like. Oh, speaking of which, just really quick, I'm not going to be streaming during the beginning of Thanksgiving week, because my mom will be here. I don't know why. I have no idea why she's visiting me. And don't say, because she wants to... No, there's nothing to do here. I literally don't have a second chair in my apartment. I have no idea why she's visiting. I really don't. But anyways, she's visiting, so for the first half of Thanksgiving week, I will not be streaming for obvious reasons. And thank you, Venters. And I assume that wants to go to Suikoden 5 as well, so I'll just put it there right now. I'm actually going to borrow a second chair. Will I cover BlizzCon this year? Probably. I haven't really decided yet. I admittedly don't care at this point in my life. I don't mean that as a negative. I mean, I literally just don't actually have any particular investment in it, so... Okay, anyways, video game tax relief. So this is fun. Now, we all know that corporations are evil, right? I mean, that's pretty normal. And we all know that corporations try to squeeze every tiny little scrap of money that they can out of people. How many of you know what tax relief functionally means? I'm sure most of you do, but I wanted to start here because I think it's important. Free money is actually not quite true. Subsidies and subsidiaries, which are actually both similar concepts in different applications, it's the way it kind of works is like this. Rather than person or company A, it's usually a company, spending money on taxes, someone else has to spend money on taxes to cover the loss, basically. Now, it's not a one-to-one, but that's generally the way it's presented. So if you get tax relief, you know, Bragwin has to pay more. Or if I get tax relief, you have to pay more, and so forth and so on. Make sense? Now, that's not a literal... It's not literally as if they look at you and say, okay, well, someone just didn't spend this much this year, so you have this much. But what it does is it does adjust the nature of how the taxes are calculated for the year. Ergo, across the year, you will end up spending more in tax, or rather, someone will end up spending more in taxes to cover the deficit. Make sense? Now, this isn't one-to-one, but this is how it works in Britain, and this is how it works here in the States. I wanted to start with that because there's this actually awesome initiative called VGTR, which is the Video Games Tax Relief, which is in Britain. Now, the way this is supposed to be, and is, it's worth noting, is it is tax relief, tax breaks, for companies who are, you know, struggling indie developers or video game studios who are in Britain or are designing things that are of British nature. Helping the, you know, studios that literally consist of 3, 4, or 5 developers, and these kind of tax breaks helping them to stay afloat and to produce video games. Now, part of the point is that they're trying to basically help to maintain what's British culture, effectively. You know, like think about, just to use a weird example, think about Doctor Who and how much of Doctor Who we have permanently lost, right? It's trying to avoid that. And trying to promote the idea of actually, you know, trying to get small-scale developers and blah, blah, blah. It's like Beat Nuki, for example. Beat Nuki does this all the time. He constantly walks out and just hands money to people so they can make content. It's amazing. Thank you very much, Beat Nuki. Much obliged as always, sir. So here's the catch. I'm going to name 4 companies that gain tax credit for that. You ready for this? Because, you know, remember everything I just said, right? Small-scale companies, needing help, British culture. Okay. Sega, Sony, Warner Media, which is one of the Warner Brothers studios, and Rockstar North. Actually, all 4 of those studios have British studios to specifically claim this tax refund. Sony got a tax refund of £30 million last year. Sega, £20 million. Let's see, where's the other numbers here? Hang on a second. I'm trying to find, because there's a bunch of figures here. So, is this the actual figure? I'm sorry, one moment. God, there's a lot of just numbers here. Here we go. Is this it? Yes. No, that's the other thing. See, the problem is this also goes to other industry things, and this is part of another tax relief thing. Do you know there's a film tax relief, too? Which actually does a ton of money, but that's cool. Same concept, basically. Same thing, just different different industry. Okay, here we go. This is the figure I wanted. So you remember how I just mentioned the 30 million and the 20 million? The total amount of tax relief for the year out of 345 claims amounted to 103 million pounds. Case I didn't state that clearly enough, of 345 claims, 2 of them make up 50% of the tax relief. So, I don't even know what to say about this. Now, this is not exclusive to Britain. This came to light recently because the oh god, what's the name of this company? The Creative Industries Statistics under the HM Revenue and Customs Department for something. Apparently, they're based in London. Actually put out a report giving all these figures. And for the most part, the report was positive. It's like, this is awesome. And this is awesome. And then there's just that statistic, which just sits there staring at you going, wait, what? Now, by the way, to be clear, this cost does, and this is why I started with that, does directly translate into increased taxes on the average British person. In fact, it has been increased by about £100 million a year. To use a direct statistic there. I love this quote. Forgive me. This is from Alex Dunnigan, who's a researcher at TaxWatch. It's clear to me that much of the subsidy is unnecessary, as many of these corporations were producing hugely popular games since long before the introduction of VGTR, which came into existence in 2004, I believe. And I'm pretty sure Sega and Warner Brothers and Sony were making video games before 2004. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, this is straight up theft. This is straight up legal theft. And this is part of what I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I could talk about the nature of how a corporation can literally perceive a lack of expense as an income and use that to try and generate fake profits in order to show that their value has gone up in order to increase their stock value, and the nature of that and how dumb that is. But the other thing I wanted to mention here is I've made a comment several times about how weird it is that we were talking about something, and I mentioned how this is both illegal and immoral. And I'll never forget this. One person commented on that and was like, wait a minute. What do you mean, like, illegal and immoral? Why is it so unusual for those two things to coincide? And I just remember laughing at that when I read that comment on the VOD, because it's like, this is insanely immoral and incredibly legal. In fact, this probably won't even change. I mean, why would it? What possible reason would they have for this to change? I remember thinking that it would be relatively easy to have some kind of oversight on this. The human element, right? You need a human being to look at it and say, well, duh, because a human being has the ability to think. And so, as opposed to an algorithm or something like that. So it's like, hey, you know, maybe this shouldn't be allowed. But the problem is that then leaves you with a singular point of failure. And with only one point of failure, that leaves you with one person who can be bribed relatively easily. And I know what you're thinking. Well, bribery is illegal. This is a great example of what I mean by illegal/immoral. Because bribery is illegal. However, the other 15 kinds of bribery, those are totally legal. There are so many ways to legally bribe someone, it's actually kind of gross. No, really. Look into it sometime. Ugh. You know, yeah, dinners, lobbyings, gifts, contributions, donations. There are plenty of ways to legally bribe someone. And at a governmental level. Now, again, I don't know how that works in most of the world because I don't know that much about governments outside of this one in Britain and a little bit of Canada. But, yeah. Hello, ITID. Yeah, ITID. I'm saying that right. This is why I identify as an Imperial. I admittedly don't have much to discuss here because it's such an obvious and overt thing that it just... Okay, one of the things that you have to do to qualify for the VGTR is you have to pass a culture test. The test is stupid. Like, Batman Arkham qualifies as British cultural content. That game, that's a direct example, qualifies for passing the British cultural test. One of the questions... This is not a joke. One of the questions on the test is, do you use the English language? I'm not actually kidding. Video game tax relief, Maria Gray. It's a British thing. Also, you do have to have some kind of staff in either the United Kingdoms or the European Economic Area, which is just... What? No, I'm aware of the British citizenship test. One of my viewers had to go through it recently. And, okay. How many of you have ever seen the TV show Yes, Minister? I've talked about it several times. Now, I actually enjoy the show Yes, Minister, but I have to admit I can only see it for brief periods of time. Because in some circumstances, it's not parody. Like it's literally not parody. What they talk about is stuff that has since actually happened or worse. It's kind of an older show. The show itself was designed to be a mockery of how screwed up the overall English-British United Kingdom system was. Like V for Vendetta, a lot more everyday. Like, a lot more normal. A lot more, you could see this happening on your way to work kind of a thing. Anyways, let's move on. When do I guess I could look it up. Yes, Minister. Yes, Minister came out in 80 to 88 was when the show was. Only bits and pieces of it, SJ. Hello, Ethel. If you just go to YouTube and type in Yes, Minister, you'll see plenty of horrible, horrible things. Like the hospital bit. Anyways, long story short, have fun with that whole Brexit thing, because I know that's being moved forward right now. I'm sorry. You have to laugh. You have to laugh. Because if you don't, the alternative is worse. Let's talk about Alpha Dream. Let's talk about more negative news, shall we? I love talking about negative news. It's my favorite thing in life, is to talk about negativity. Life sucks and everyone's going to die. Life is pain! Yeah, so how many of you have ever heard of Alpha Dream? How many of you have ever heard of Mario and Luigi? It's a series of video games, of which there are gosh, 4, 5, 6, I think? Something like that. I've actually lost count. There's a bunch on that was originally a GBA, and then the rest were on DS, and then several were on the 3DS, and a couple remakes came on. Anyways, they went bankrupt. Unfortunately, this is something that was a long time in coming, and it sucks. Here's the catch. I don't know the core why, like the specific why this is happening, but the exterior, the shell why of this is happening is the fact that they kept producing games on the 3DS. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but the 3DS doesn't sell all that well these days. You know what sells all that well? This thing. So what happened is they pushed out several Mario and Luigi games, which were awesome and sold well. That pretty much cut off by Dream Team. Dream Team was the last one that was both, you know, financially successful and, in my opinion, a legitimately decent game. Then they went ahead and pushed out another game which was hampered severely by several creative things that we actually talked about during the Paper Mario lore run. That was the Paper Mario and Luigi crossover one. I don't even remember the name of it. Paper Jam, that's the one. Thank you. Paper Jam. Yeah, Paper Jam, it was definitely a dip in quality for them, and the 3DS was already on its way out the door at that point, so not very good sales. Then they pushed out a remake of Mario & Luigi 1, Mario & Luigi 2. Actually, they didn't do one of 2, did they? But they did one of 1 and they did one of 3, both of which came out on the 3DS. And I bought both of those, because of course I did. But the problem was, you can see where the problem's already starting, because they were just barely staying afloat, and then they're like, okay, quick, remake, but they put them on the 3DS and those didn't sell. So, long story short, they've been getting more and more in debt for the better part of about 3 or 4 years at this point. This is them finally being like, okay, we can no longer pay our bills. So we're declaring bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy can infer a lot of things. There's a lot of ways that can go. They could receive financial aid. They could be bought out wholesale by another company. Their assets could be chopped up and auctioned off. There's all sorts of possibilities here. Bowser's Inside Story is 3. Also my favorite of the franchise, by the way. Although 4 is kind of there. Is this a Telltale? No, Telltale was very unique. Telltale shut, as I think I talked about during the Loreweek where we discussed the Telltale situation, Telltale shut down so hard and fast it was actually unusual. Bankruptcy wasn't even on the table for what they were going through. This is more normal. This is, all right, we're going to go ahead and just kind of let this fall. And we're going to go and keep business running while we go through the bankruptcy hearings. And that's part of the thing, too. When you, at least here in the States, I'm not actually sure how this works in Japan, but when you file for bankruptcy as a corporation, usually there's a little bit of financial aid they'll give you to basically keep the lights running. They don't always do that. But that is something that can be a benefit of declaring bankruptcy. So, yeah. Either way, like I said, we will see exactly what comes of that. I am hoping, fingers crossed, as horrible as this sounds, that what happens is Nintendo just straight up buys them, or their assets and properties are bought by Nintendo, who then hires the people at Alpha Dream to just continue the series on the Switch. I mean, I think that'd be awesome, but who knows, really. Unfortunately, this basically just happened last week, so we're probably not going to find out specifics for months, because bankruptcy hearings don't exactly happen quickly. Yeah. Now, before I get into something positive, I want to have one last big negativity point, okay? How many of you have played any of the Mario and Luigi series? I'll obviously raise my hand on this one. Bonus question. How many of you enjoyed the Mario and Luigi series that you played? I'm keeping my hand up for obvious reasons. I want to share a quick story with you. There was a bit where Miyamoto reached out to 2 different developers, Intelligence, Dream, whatever the heck their name is. Intelligent System. I can't actually remember the name. The Paper Mario guys. And then Miyamoto reached out to Alpha Dream and said, get rid of all the story elements. Intelligent System, thank you. And said, get rid of the story elements. And Intelligent System said, you got it, boss, and made Sticker Star. And Alpha Dream said, go to hell, boss, and made Mario & Luigi Dream Team, which is an excellent game, by the way, and my second favorite of that franchise. So, I like to tell that story every now and again. because it's a good story. But the team who made, at bare minimum, 4 excellent games, in my opinion, 4 really good games that really pushed what you could do with RPGs and the Mario franchise, which also all have continuity. All 4 of those are part of one overall... Well, that's not quite true. Basically, there's a lot of background and character continuity across those 4 games. There is a little bit of plot continuity between 1, 2, and 3. So that's awesome. It's an awesome franchise, it's an awesome series, and they're going bankrupt. Meanwhile, there's this game called, let's see, what's it called? Mario Kart something on the phone. Come on, load up. Mario Kart Tour is apparently what it's called. This game is garbage. It's basically a typical MOBA game. It's not as bad can get. I've seen much worse, but it's bad. It is legitimately bad. The actual... I can't even properly describe it. The steering... I mean, there is a motion control thing, but the steering is like, go right, go left. That's the gameplay. It has straight-up loot boxes. You don't start with Mario as an available racer. I keep going? You want me to keep going? It's pretty crap. Yeah, it's a pretty crap mobile game, and that's a thing that's making money, whereas Alpha Dream is going to bankruptcy, because that's the world we live in. Anyways. Now, as much as I love being the negative runner, let's talk about something positive. Or neutral, if you will. Terrible jokes. We here at the Lore Runner believe very firmly in terrible jokes. So, for those of you not aware, recently the Supreme Court, or maybe it wasn't the Supreme Court, I forget, one of the courts here in the States voted to ratify the FCC's decision on net neutrality. They're like, yep, they're right to do this. They have the right to do this. I was going to say, it wasn't actually the Supreme, it was something else. But anyways, now you're probably thinking, how is that a positive thing? Well, in the middle of that, they also mentioned that it is beyond the purview of the FCC to dictate state terms. Now, let me try and explain that. So, I know it's been a while since we've had net neutrality news. So, as a quick refresher, immediately after the FCC, and I mean within a week of the FCC declaring the net neutrality thing that happened earlier this year, already states, plural, were already starting to their own legislation to enforce net neutrality within the state. Now, that was immediately met with a countersuit by FCC saying, you can't override us. We are the federal side. The Court of Appeals just said, no, you can't do that. The states have their own rights. Piss off. In so many words. In short, the state rights override the FCC's rights on this matter, which means any given state can decide exactly how they want to do any particular type of net neutrality. Now, this is good on the face of it, first of all. Second reason this is good is there's actually several other industries which have this exact same problem, where it's state law, not federal law, that determines how a service works for a national company. So what they tend to do is they tend to standardize based on an individual state that has like the worst or least requirements. In short, I don't know off the top of my head, there's a lot of documentation on this one. I read part of the actual final document. It was just, my eyes started blurring. I was like, I got work to do, so. Anyways, but the reason this can be a good thing for the second reason is because if any given state like California, which has been leading the charge on this one, says you have to maintain an absolute level of net neutrality, then it is more likely the larger companies that are multi-state, that are national, will use California as the basis point for how they distribute it everywhere else. That's not necessarily true, but there is precedent for that. And I quote, "As a matter of both basic agency law and federalism, the power to preempt the state's laws must be conferred by Congress. It cannot be a mere byproduct of self-made agency policy. Doubly so here, where preemption treads into an area, state regulation of interstate communications, over which Congress has expressly denied the Commission regulatory authority." There's the relevant part right there. The most relevant part. Yeah, that is actually a win, and that's awesome. I do want to share one other thing really quick, though, and apparently I didn't copy it down. I thought I did, but I don't seem to have it. So I'm going to have to find it. Give me one moment, please. What the... No. One moment. Ah! Really? Ah, it's not going to show me the link, is it? Hang on. I gotta share this, because this just actually made me laugh. I'm gonna have to find it here, aren't I? Alright, whatever. Give me a minute. Long and the short of it is, this is a good thing. Now, someone asked how long will this last? So the next step to overrule this at the level at which this was stated, the only way to actually override this would be for Congress to rewrite the very nature of the core law, the FCC and the FCC's oversight over state policy. That's possible. That could happen. It's also unlikely, if we're being completely honest. Simply because it's such a... that would not be a short or brief process to happen, and it's probably not going to happen during a election year. So, yeah. Oh my god, it's Bella. What's up, Bella? Give me one moment. I'm trying to find something very quickly. And I'm doing it very slowly, because I'm a moron. You know what, hang on. Thank you very, very much, Bella. Much obliged and appreciate as always. Thank you. I'm sorry, I have to share this. I'm basically done talking about it, but I do have to share this because this is just awful. I swore I wrote this. Here it is! Found it! Jesus, okay. Stupid frickin' thing. Okay. This is hysterical. So this is... this is from the official findings. Okay, you ready for this? We are, however, satisfied... This is part of why the court decided to go ahead and approve the FCC's enforcement of no net neutrality, okay? So that's where this is coming from. Let me write down Bella's thing really quick. Bella, Cala, Link's Awakening. There we go. We are, however, satisfied by the Commission's other reasons for believing that competition exists in the broadband market. The Commission... Okay, so they're willing to acknowledge that more than one company exists. Big move there, guys. The Commission turns to empirical research that supports the claim that presence of two wireline providers is enough to ensure meaningful competition exists. In other words, they only need two companies to have competition. Okay, I'm kind of with you so far. Consumers in areas with fewer than two providers may also reap the benefits of competition. A provider in this area, quote, will tend to treat a customer that do not have competitive choice as if they do, unquote, because competitive pressures elsewhere often have spillover effects across a given corporation. So, in case you missed that, because that's a lot of meaningless backtalk. Consumers in areas with fewer than two providers, that'd be one, by the way. So, when there's a monopoly, we'll reap the benefit of competition. No, they won't. I can say that with 100% certainty, because until I moved to this place, you know how many providers I had? And you know how much frickin' hundreds of dollars I paid a month for that internet? Give you a hint, it's more than $100 a month. It's even more than $200 a month. It's not more than $3. It was like $235 or something like that. Additionally, these providers could face hefty operational and reputational cost from acting badly in uncompetitive areas. Bullcrap! It's $50 right now under Google Fiber. I don't have a link, actually, Maria Gray. Sorry. I just copied the image. That's what I was looking for earlier, was the link, and I didn't find it, so I searched my own Discord for the image that I linked. I can do this really quick. Let's see if this works. Nope, that's just the image. Hang on. I don't know where to look for this. Maybe it'll be on Twitter? Give me a minute. Let's see what we can find on Twitter. Let's see, this would have been this week. In fact, what give me a timestamp. That was Wednesday. So that was the 2nd. It's not there. Oh yeah, by the way, Wendy's has an RPG now. It looks surprisingly good. Like, legitimately good. When I say RPG, I'm sorry, I should clarify. They have a module of a pen and paper RPG that's based on 5th edition. And I've actually glanced through it. It does look surprisingly good. Like, weirdly good. Like a properly well-designed module and everything. It's actually kind of fun. I'm kind of hoping to play through it at some point in my life. I don't know when, I don't have time, but... Yeah, Wendy's, the fast food chain. Have I heard of KFC's dating simulator? People are already donating for me to play that on stream. So... Yeah, Critical Role played through it, I know that. That's not what brought it to my attention. I was just randomly looking at Wendy's Twitter, because Wendy's Twitter is usually actually surprisingly amusing, and then all of a sudden, hey, what? What? Wait, this is a real thing, and then I grabbed the PDF, and I'm like, oh my god, it's free, by the way. It's completely free. You can just grab it. I don't think I can find it. God dang it. I don't think I can find the link, guys. I don't know where exactly. Maybe if I had it on my phone? Let me see if I can find it on my phone. Give me a second. Because I get a lot of my news on my phone. We will find this. We will make this happen. Unless it's been too old. So that would have been Wednesday. Hang on. Is that it? That might actually be it. Hang on. I might have found it. Aha! Okay, so I need to figure out how to get this from my phone to the... No, come on! Stupid ads. Give me a second. Technically, I can Dream Whisperer. I just choose not to nowadays. Okay, here we go. So this is... Okay, this is not the actual original PDF. How do I link this? Look up Nilay Patel, Nilay space Patel on Twitter. He's got a whole thread about it, where he pulls out. Yes, ITED. I'm not actually joking about that. Where he talks about some of the things from it. Yeah, let's see. Nilay Patel. Here, I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to link something. Damn it! This is going to happen. So I just need to find his links about this, which would have been about Wednesday-ish. So the first one is, I am reading. Let's see if we can find this. That would have been the second. I'll never drink. I do need to stay hydrated. I've been having issues with that lately. Sorry. Illinois is a different state than Wisconsin. Blah, 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 blah. Is this it? This might be it. No, that's not it. You know what? I give up. Whatever. No links. I give up on finding links.
Pay close attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
You know what? You want a link? Hang on, I can get you a link. If you really want a link, I will get you a link. Give me a second. And thank you very, very much, Chai Guy. Much obliged as always. I will get you a link. I will do my due diligence. I just need to find this address. Oh, geez, that's a huge thing. So let's just copy that. Hang on. I'm going to be doing this a weird way, so I got to hop onto Twitch. And then I need to hop onto my own stream, and then I need to mute it so I don't hear myself. Or the ad that's playing. Why are the ads 30 seconds? Whatever. Paste. Go. There. That is a link. Close. To the actual document, wherein you can find the things that I quoted. There. Due diligence. Done. Okay, now. Where's my God, I don't have my donations things up. Hang on. There it is. And it's from Jay for the... Thank you very, very much, Jay. Much obliged. And we will date him, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I might have to download that game at this point before they get rid of it. 15951. And that is for KFC. No, Colonel. Colonel KFC. There we go. Thanks, Hazardous. It's okay. I already linked the link. And yeah, that is the thread I was looking for earlier, Shikor, where I pulled the specific quote out. Okay. I had a topic here. Right, so the long and the short of this, sorry. This is actually one of the weirder circumstances and natures of what it is to be a federal republic. Because the general premise of the United States, and I know this sounds strange to anybody, like I've talked about this to people who don't live in the States before and they look at me weird. State law tends to override most things. Now, that's not quite accurate. It's more like there's federal law, but federal law in many respects is actually much more lenient than state law. And then the states can just, pull up to the line of the federal law, or they can make it more severe depending on how they want to do it. And that's true for most things, as far as things that actually cover federal law here. But most of the actual day-to-day function of the country that I live in is actually done at the state level. In fact, actually it's done at the county level, but let's not get into that. So, the fact that they decided to enforce the state's rights on this isn't what I would call surprising. But it does kind of... I find myself wondering if anybody's going to look at this and think, maybe the states shouldn't have the ability to override a federal commission, a federal institution on this matter. Because that is a debate point. Like, that's not a correct thing, basically. If that makes any sense. It's just a matter of opinion. Which should have the priority, the federation or the state? It's opinion. That's preference. That's ideology. That's philosophy. So... Well, like, probably my personal favorite example of federal law, now I don't know if this is actually still true, so this is like several years out of date at this point, was the nature of highways. And the way that certain interstate highways work and are funded is something that is technically controlled at the federal level, but is something that's actually implemented at the state level. So the federated level doesn't technically have the right to tell the states what to do, but they do control the budget of the state level. So, you can imagine how that goes. I have 2 family members in the... Oh, God, I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. The traffic department. And they deal with this crap all the time. Department of Transportation, yes, thank you. God. You can tell I'm a little bit out of it. Minimum wages, that is actually a great example of what I'm talking about, Diesel Edge. That is a good one. Minimum wage is actually a federal thing, but if I'm not mistaken, it's ludicrously low. Let me check that up really quick. Yeah, $7.25 per hour is minimum wage, which... if that doesn't sound low, let's just do a little bit of number crunching just real quick here. I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to be multiplying. So that means you'd get... that can't be right. That can't be right. No, apparently that's right. That's about $986 a month. That's 40 hours a week and after taxes. So, if that doesn't sound like a small amount of money, I could barely pay rent. Just rent off of that. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in a not particularly good part of town. Like, it's not a bad part of town, but I mean, I'm not exactly in the wealthy area. And I could barely pay rent off of that. Never mind food, electricity, water, internet. Now, I know cost of living varies, but my point being that minimum wage is garbage. And again, this gets back to my point, that it's way over here. So, yeah. Anyways, long and the short of it is that I'm happy that this is happening, and I'm hoping, I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm hoping California just goes to town on net neutrality, especially since they're the ones who have had the most high-scale... How large is my apartment? I don't know. Not that big. I basically live in a smaller area than I used to. Anyways, I'm hoping California just goes to town on net neutrality. Like just takes a bat to it and says, here, we're enforcing this. And I'm hoping that spreads. We'll see. That usually varies from a state to state level. Lord knows that that's become an issue in many states recently. Not just regarding internet rules, but, you know, all sorts of things that are done at the state level. Let's just say there's been disagreements lately and leave it at that. Yeah. Anyways, that is actually all I got today. So we're going to chop off the recording.